tonight. Also, baseball-wise, news out of South Carolina. The Gamecocks getting ready to play at Mississippi State this coming weekend, starting tomorrow, and it will not be the regular rotation for the Gamecocks. Mark Kingston has decided to kind of shake things up a little bit. He's going to go with Eli Jones starting tomorrow night for the Gamecocks. So Will Sanders has just not been the excellent Will Sanders that they have expected, and they've decided to make a change. Now, maybe, I don't know if there's any injury issue involved here. Been no hint of that. If it's just all performance related, and he's made the decision to make that change going into the game tomorrow night down at Mississippi State. Tough place to run a youngster in at a place like down at Mississippi State, where even though they're having a very tough year, they're 0-6 in SEC play, and 2 years removed from winning a national championship, and the fans there are getting all over the coaching staff. They can still turn out in big numbers with the cowbells and cause a lot of difficulty for the visiting team. And so, and also last night, of course, we were over at Segra Park and got a chance to watch Clemson and the College of Charleston play. The Tigers put together a very good third, fourth, fifth inning, put some runs on the board, pulled away to a win last night. And we talked to both head coaches. We'll bring that to you as well to kind of catch up on their teams. Clemson has a huge series starting tomorrow night for them at Doug Kingsmore, because they take on Wake Forest. Wake Forest is ranked the number 2 team in the country right now in some of the polls. So we have got an absolutely jam-packed, loaded show for you tonight. We'll give you, of course, the chance to holler at us as well. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And since 2002, more than 2.1 million lottery-funded scholarships, such as Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow scholarships, have been awarded to South Carolina students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education. Wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Something big happening nationally today is that Congress had a hearing today related to NIL, and they had witnesses up there, both in terms of athletic directors and athletes and others, to testify on both the good and the bad of NIL. We'll touch on that in just a little bit. Let's welcome in Chris Bergen from the Berge Palace over in Sardis. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Well, howdy, sir, and welcome to the Lone Star State. For somebody who claims he was traveling all day today and did not have a chance to catch up on the headlines, and you wanted to toss it to me, you just covered everything that's happened today. So I know what you were doing on the plane. Somebody got some Wi-Fi access, but a really, really good job. So how are things in Dallas?
Dallas is big. The airport is huge, but I tell you what, the most amazing thing to me, I'm not going to bore everybody with trip details. Everything went smoothly for the most part, but this was my first time, I think, exiting the airport. Mm-hmm. I have changed planes in Dallas before, but the convenience, I was amazed by. Have you flown into Dallas before?
Yes, numerous times.
So you'll know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. I was amazed by how convenient the baggage claim area was to where you exit your plane.
Oh, yeah. It's a tremendous airport. The fun part about Dallas is, as you noticed when you taxied off the runway back towards the terminals, is you go over one of the major highways out there. I've always thought that was really cool that the some of the taxiways go over I guess it's the interstate. I can't remember. I know it's one of the major highways in Dallas, but it's always fun to fly into Dallas. I've stopped there a couple of times when Coastal's played at UT Arlington. But yeah, it's as good an airport for a major city as I think you'll find anywhere.
Yeah, I was just very impressed with that fact because, typically you come off the plane and you start walking to baggage claim and just keep going. I mean, it was right there. I was just amazed about that. But I didn't steal all your thunder because there was some major news in women's basketball this afternoon that probably will upset a few Gamecock fans listening to us tonight.
I would imagine, but I think if you look at it from a USC perspective, you can probably put a nice positive spin on this as motivation going into Friday with Iowa. But the Naismith National Player of the Year honor was handed out just a little over an hour ago, and it was not Aaliyah Boston, as I'm sure most Gamecock fans expected it to be. It was indeed Iowa's Caitlin Clark, who is third nationally in scoring, led the nation in assists per game, and is Iowa's team, and coming off a record-setting triple-double. So if the voting did not occur before this past weekend, she clinched it with her performance rather against Louisville in the regional final. I don't think you can really argue that Caitlin Clark, maybe this year in particular, is not the best player in the country. Aaliyah Boston is a terrific player and played easily her best game in the NCAA tournament in their win over Maryland back on Monday. She is surrounded, though, by a lot of other players. And Dawn Staley's talked about this. Aaliyah's probably given up some of her statistical prowess to be able to win ball games. Maybe if Aaliyah goes out and averages, 30 points and 15 rebounds a game, maybe South Carolina is not 36-0 going into the Final Four. But she has backed off her individual pride a little bit to allow her whole team to be successful. And I think that's the reason probably she award and Caitlin Clark did. Now, I think if you're a Gamecock fan, you got to love is now you've got motivation on your side because everybody in that locker room for USC is upset that Aaliyah did not get the National Player of the Year award. Mm-hmm. They want to go out on Friday and prove who the best player, best team is. And you did not need to give Caitlin Clark any more motivation if you saw what she did against Louisville. Let her take that honor today, let her bask in the glow, and then you go out and win on Friday night and everybody's happy. So I think it actually probably works out pretty well. And Aaliyah wasn't left out in the cold. She did win her second consecutive National Defensive Player of the Year from the Naismith Award, as did Dawn Staley, her second straight National Coach of the Year award, all those coming out a little bit earlier today.
All right, very good. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Love to hear from you tonight, whatever you want to talk about related to the women's tournament or some spring football is always good to kick around. We'll hear from Spencer Rattler. I know that you were putting that piece together for us. Did he say anything that was noteworthy when he met with the media for the first time this spring? I guess maybe talking about the new offensive coordinator, the new pace of play, the new play calling style, and things like that.
Listening to Spencer Rattler, you would not think of him as I guess, what is he now? A senior in college?
Super senior.
Guys straight anymore with COVID years and the like. But, I mean, he is so poised and speaks so well and just so comfortable in front of the microphone. I almost chuckled when you said it was his first visit with the media today. And it actually was in the spring, but it sounds like his, 1,000th visit with the media. Took all the questions. They weren't obviously too much in terms of hard-hitting questions, but a couple of things I thought were noteworthy. First off, he talked about how that team has come together. Comparison from last year to this year, he feels like he is a lot better leader, especially vocally, as opposed to last year. It felt like he said he did not want to come in and sort of say, I used to play at Oklahoma. I'm starting quarterback there. I should be the starter here. Our program at OU was a lot better than USC, so you need to listen to me. He didn't take that approach last year, and now it sounds like he's trying to be a little bit more of a leader in terms of not just on the field, but also a vocal leader in the locker room. And he talked about how Shane Beamer has said they want to be the closest unit of any team in the country, sort of that family mentality that we keep hearing coming out of Columbia. And Spencer Rattler sort of rattled off all of those themes and said he loves what Dowell Loggins is doing with the offense, says those two bounce ideas off one another. Sounds like if it's something Spencer doesn't feel like he can do well on the field, they'll take it out of the playbook. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. But for the most part, it's your typical spring practice type commentary. Everybody's improving. They feel a lot better in the offense right now than they did, say, at the start of spring and that type thing. So I think there are some interesting comments and things we can pull from when we hear from Spencer later on.
I will get to that. Obviously, he and Loggins are developing a pretty good relationship, which is important. They want them to be on the same page. And just like up at Clemson, of course, really at Clemson, this is at South Carolina, it's a veteran and a newbie quarterback and coordinator. At Clemson, you got a situation where it's really two newbies. I mean, the starting quarterback at Clemson is going to be new. Yeah, he started the bowl game and he took over in the ACC championship game, but he's new. Offensive coordinator is new. So there's not a whole lot there that Riley has to come in and change or erase in that situation. It's just all brand new. I don't know how much Loggins has come in and had to change terminology and change the way Rattler, just his technique, his form, anything like that, because he's more established in what he's doing, and why mess with something that's already been working very well for him throughout his career.
Absolutely. And Pat tells us Spencer actually has 2 years of eligibility remaining. I don't think, though, if he performs well this season, I don't think he would utilize that final year, but you never know. There were a lot of folks who I don't think last year at this time felt like once he stepped on campus at USC, he was going to be here for 2 years. So never know what actually comes out of that. But I think you're right. I think you've got more of a veteran communication, if you will, at USC than maybe you would. I think if Garrett Riley says something, Cade Klubnik's going to do it, and there's probably not going to be a lot of pushback. I think, though, in listening to Spencer today, I think if there is something in the playbook that Spencer doesn't like, he has the respect of Dowell Loggins to take that out if that's not something he feels like he's comfortable excelling with on the field. Now, Luke Doty may feel totally different. I don't know if they have that type of communication, but it does sound like those two especially have built a quick bond where if Spencer says we don't need to run this or we should run this, Dowell Loggins will listen to him and vice versa. I think if Dowell says, no, I think you can execute this, I think Spencer would take him up on that.
All right, phone number 888-898-2525, the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk, and we will be happy to take your phone calls. Going to hit the opening break of the night and then come back with more, catch you up on a few more notes. And as far as the folks we'll be hearing from tonight, it will be Spencer Rattler. Bring that to you tonight. Also, we'll hear from Clemson baseball coach Eric Bakich from their game last night. College of Charleston coach Chad Holbrook. We'll hear from him as well. And other stuff to come your way. Complete recruiting report, too. And we'll talk more about the upcoming Final Four here in Dallas. Looking forward to the press conferences tomorrow. Looking forward to getting a chance to watch the teams practice inside the American Airlines Center in downtown Dallas. Bring you all that tomorrow night. Hit the break here on Sports Talk. Be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company and then talking to you and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you. I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
Hope, life, and the great Palmetto. What do these things have in common? Scholarship dollars. The SC Hope, the Life, and the Palmetto Fellow Scholarships are funded by the lottery players of this great state. And after 20 years, you've invested over $7 billion in education. $7 billion. Impressive. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
We're back on Sports Talk here on this, Wednesday night? Yeah, Sports Talk here on this Wednesday night. 888-898-2525 is the phone number. And a few other things to pass along from today. Well, you got some other things. I don't want to steal all your thunder. You got a few other things you want to pass along that's on your mind?
No, I did want to go back to baseball for a moment. Good win last night by Clemson, something they desperately needed. And you were talking about their pitching rotation for the weekend, especially South Carolina. I'll get back to in a minute. Tigers also mentioning who they're going to throw out against Wake Forest, which is not going to be an easy task against a Wake Forest team that's playing some really, really good baseball. But they've left TBA for the middle game, normally the Saturday. It's a Friday now with a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know what Eric Bakich does with that part of his rotation. Because, against Georgia Tech, they ran out Tristan Smith And he just didn't have it. Only went an inning in the third, gave up 6 runs. Of course, that was the game they got blown out and beaten pretty badly on Saturday. I don't know how he fixes that part of his rotation until Ryan Ammons comes back for him. And hopefully for the Tigers, they get him back a lot sooner than later.
Well, I can tell you a little something about that. I can tell you a little something about that in our conversation with him. He said they hope to have him back not this weekend, but the next weekend. But when he comes back, he said he's going in the bullpen. He's not going right back into the rotation. So as things stand right now, maybe that's a case of just bringing him along slowly, coming off, what do you have, a forearm injury, forearm strain, something like that. Bring him along a little slower. But the plan is not this weekend, next weekend. They hope he'll be able to come back, but not directly into the rotation.
And you talked about the Gamecocks running with Eli Jones tomorrow night to start in place of Will Sanders. And, Phil, if you just went by the raw data, Eli Jones deserves to start over Will Sanders. I mean, he's got an ERA below 2. He's undefeated. This will be his second start of the season, albeit in a really hostile environment, or normally is. I would imagine it might be as hostile for Mississippi State as it is for South Carolina. But do you think this is a 1-week off type deal? Or is Will Sanders going to have to work his way back through the bullpen, say, like a Ryan Ammons, who's coming off an injury? Will they run Sanders out to the bullpen and see if he can get it back together before they put him into the weekend rotation?
That's a very good question. I think that, sometimes when you're having problems as a starter, you can go down to the bullpen and work those issues out. And maybe that's what they're trying to do here. Put him in the pen, sort of like that quarterback who's struggling. You put in the backup for a couple of series. You let the starter stand on the sideline, kind of settle down, get a view of things from there, and let him work things out in his head. Maybe they're doing the same thing here. Again, assuming there's nothing physically involved in this decision, and we have no indication that that's the case. So maybe they're going to use him. One thing this will do, if Eli Jones can handle it, now you might see Sanders coming out of the bullpen on Thursday night. Maybe Sanders is going to go 5, and then Jones is going to go 4 or 5 or deeper if he's having a good outing. And then they come in with Sanders, or maybe they hold Sanders for later in the series. But, it is an ace in the hole for you that if the others can step up and do the job, think about what you've got in your bullpen now that you can bring in tough situations and hope that he can work things out. I kind of think that's what they're thinking about now.
Well, and you get sort of a similar scenario. They get set up on Saturdays when Noah Hall starts to get late in the ball game. They have James Hicks ready to come in and finish it off. If Will Sanders could come in and slam the door behind Eli Jones, well, you want to talk about a really good 1-2 punch in your opening 2 games in conference series, which are always the most important. You get that early 2-0 lead, and we've seen what South Carolina can do. And how about the stat coming out of last night's game? Speaking of the Gamecocks, 24-2 is the program's best mark ever through 26 ball games, even better than that 2000 team, Phil, that won 6 games.
Well, I think that Tommy Moody apparently said that on the broadcast last night.
He did.
But then he went back and amended it and said it's the best start since the 1975 team.
Oh, okay. Because I noticed that the 2000 team started 23-3.
Yeah.
Because I looked that back up, and I think I saw another tweet or stat out of USC, or at least Gamecock baseball, that said that as well. So maybe somebody.
I think I saw a tweet. I thought I saw a tweet where he amended that to say it was the best since 1975. But we'll do some tweet searking here and see what we can come up with. Yeah. Regardless, it's a hell of a start. Yeah. You're 23-2, and you've built yourself a lot of wiggle room here. You're 6-0 in league play. Now that you want to absorb any losses, you want to continue to win. And when you've got a team like Mississippi State that you're playing, and they are struggling and they are down like they are, you don't want to be the team to let them up off the mat. You want to continue to pummel them and add to their misery. So this is where South Carolina has got to be a little bit careful, as we talked about earlier in the week. It's Mississippi State. It's still a huge name. It's still a tough place to play. It's a difficult environment. If and when they get it going with their people, if they're capable of doing that. But you've got to be wary of that situation, and no pun intended. Don't take your eye off the ball here down in Starkville, because if they start to beat you, they get it going. They can. I'm sure they're capable of putting it together and playing some good baseball. But I mean, they've struggled right now, and you've just got to keep it going if you're the Gamecocks. And so, yeah, this is a chance for them to really solidify themselves in the SEC. If they go, I would not presume that they go to Mississippi State and sweep, but just winning the series. Now you want to win series. That's what it's all about. And if they're able to continue to do that, then they're going to be in great shape. And they're not, they're going to put themselves in a good position for the SEC tournament and beyond. But right now, Mississippi State is 0-6. They're 13-11 overall. In the RPI, they're number 60. They're 0-6 against Q1 teams. It's just not gone well for them so far this year. They've just had their troubles. They are coming off a win. They picked up a win last night. They beat Samford 9-4. But over the weekend in Nashville, they got beat 26-3. 18-5 and 11-7. And then in the SEC weekend before at Kentucky, now keep in mind, they played that in Starkville. That was in Starkville they played Vandy, and they got pummeled. The previous weekend at Kentucky, 6-5, 12-3, and 17-3. I mean, it's pretty obvious they're having some pitching issues.
Without a doubt. And you just wouldn't expect that. And we talked about this earlier in the week. For a program that is as proud as Mississippi State is and just 2 years removed from a national championship, well, you want to talk about a precipitous fall off the cliff. They certainly have. And you are right about the 1975 USC team. They actually started the season 30-2. So they matched program's best through 26 games last night.
Yeah. Okay, hit the break here on Sports Talk. We'll hear from the Gamecock quarterback, Spencer Rattler, coming up. We'll take some phone calls as well. Feel free to dial us up. We got time for your calls. 888-898-2525, the number. We'll be back after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear with a low dipping down to 43. Tomorrow, can't ask for a nicer spring day with abundant sunshine all day and a high temp of 71. Friday, we're back up to 81 with a mix of sun and clouds, while on Saturday, it's a rain-filled day. Sunday is the nicer of the weekend days. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. Let the good times. It's time to purchase second annual crawfish boil on Saturday, April 1st. No fooling. Tickets are $25, and that'll get you all you can eat crawfish. There's live music, jambalaya, chicken fingers, and the best crawfish this side of the bayou. It's the Louisiana Purchase Crawfish Boil, Saturday, April 1st at 7011 St. Andrews Road. Get your tickets at the restaurant. I'll call 708-9991, April 1st from 11 to 2. And let the good times boil.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the head of the UN's atomic energy watchdog is warning of the danger of a catastrophic accident at Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant because of increased fighting in the area. Rafael Mariano Grossi made the comment after returning from a visit to the plant, which is in a partially Russian-occupied zone. An FBI informant who marched to the U.S. Capitol with fellow Proud Boys members has testified that he didn't know of any plans for the group to invade the building on January 6th. The informant identified himself in court only as Aaron when he testified on Wednesday as a defense witness. On trial for seditious conspiracy are former Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio and 4 lieutenants. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 323 points. The Nasdaq rose 210. More details at srnnews.com.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
The pipes burst, you're getting the repairs done. Now it's time for your flooring. This is where the flooring department shines. We don't have a huge multi-million-dollar showroom, but we all buy from the same manufacturers. So why pay more? We're locally owned with 30 years in the flooring industry, and we stand by our work. Get tremendous customer service and great pricing with the flooring department. 951-3567 or online at theflooringdepartment.com. That's 951-3567 or 951-FLOR. The flooring department.
Hi, this is a unique radio station. We don't have a bunch of huge corporate sponsors, and we're not a local fiber radio. We're a locally owned and locally operated station. In fact, we're family. Community first. We're all about local. And if you're a small business owner, well, it'd be my honor to sit down with you, talk about your business with the help of The Point. If you've never considered radio advertising, well, it works, especially talk radio. Our listeners trust us. They trust and they support our advertising. You'd be surprised just how affordable running some ads on The Point can be. So let me put something together. A customized package that fits your budget. I'm not Kev. Call me 563-8058 or email me at kev@makepointradio.com. 563-8558 or email us kev@makepointradio.com. Let's sit down. Let's talk about partnering up. Let's talk about seeing if we can grow together.
Hi, I'm Tazima. Join me every Saturday at 11 a.m. for Small Business Saturday. We'll celebrate business owners in our community while learning their stories of success and failure. It's Small Business Saturday right here at 100.7 The Point.
It's the Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. It's that time of year. It's golf weather. Are you going golfing this weekend? Be the guy bringing the sticks, not the guy that borrows. Come by and refill your humidor or just pull off the interstate for a smoke and a cold beverage. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff will help you. You can be a novice or a seasoned veteran. Our friendly staff will walk you through the humidor and answer your questions. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard next to the Melting Pot.
We are back at Sports Talk tonight. We are in Big D, Dallas, Texas, site of the women's Final Four in Houston. It's the men's Final Four this weekend. I mean, Texas has got everything. We got the opening of the Major League Baseball season tomorrow. They'll be playing in Houston. Not sure if the Rangers are home or not tomorrow, but won't have time to check it out.
You should go anyway. If they are. I was going to say, if they play a night game, that ballpark is phenomenal. And I actually saw a game at the old ballpark at Arlington, not the Globe Life Field or whatever that they built beside it. It actually dwarfs the old place. Well, yeah, I use old in sort of quotations because the ballpark at Arlington wasn't all that old when they changed over to Globe Life. But from what I've been told, that's a phenomenal facility.
See if my good friend Mark Cuban can get me a ticket or two.
There you go. See the Mavs play.
I actually don't know him, but I do know somebody who grew up with him in Pittsburgh back in the day. So maybe I can drop a name and get a good ticket. Phone number 888-898-2525. Let's hit a phone call or two, and then Spencer Rattler joins us here on Sports Talk. Not live. We don't pay for interviews, but we do have him from the press conference earlier today. Gamecock Larry in Swansea. Welcome in, sir. Good to have you with us. How are you?
How you doing, Phil? Hope you enjoy your trip.
Yes, sir.
I got a call from my nephew, Mark Dancer, Tuesday, and told me, said I got to know by Wednesday if you want to go to Dallas. I said, go to Dallas. He said, yeah. I said, when do you want to know? He said, you got to let me know by the Wednesday afternoon. Well, I sat down, I got to thinking, how am I going to Dallas? Wheelchair, oxygen concentrator, walker, 25-pound bag of medicine, and whatever else I got to take. I don't think I can go. So I didn't tell him right then because I was trying to figure out how I could go out there. But I can't even get from my recliner to the bathroom without out of breath. How in the world am I going to go from Swanson, South Carolina to Dallas, Texas? Ain't no way. So I had to call him this afternoon and tell him I couldn't go, but I'll be here listening, and I'll be here with a win. And Caitlin Clark, she got the Player of the Year, which if Boston would have played as many minutes, and she did, and took some more shots, she'd have got it all together. We don't worry about that. We worry about winning the national championship. Boston don't care about individual awards. She wants to win, and we are going to win. And as far as Will Sanders, they set him down. I figured they'd have to do that. And he'll probably start maybe he'll start a midweek game. And I don't know. I hope Eli Jones does great, and they'll have to keep Will Sanders doing something else. That's about all I got to say, Phil. Enjoy your stay out there. And get them women, get them ladies, bring home the championship. That's all I got to say. Go Gamecocks, and leave it to Mr. Field. He going to bring the ladies home as a winner. Go Gamecocks.
Well, Larry, thank you very much. You sound good. I think you're making a wise decision. Be awfully tough on you, and you don't need to strain yourself or anything right now. But if the USC women play as hard and as well as you pull for them and root for them, then they're going to be just fine. And they'll bring home another trophy for you. Thank you, Larry. Glad you're doing okay. He sounds good, doesn't he?
He does. And I admire him for even considering what he is dealing with. I wouldn't, and is, not to joke about it, but I'm not sure I'd go across the street. But that gentleman was thinking about flying out to Dallas, Texas to go support his team. Remarkable fan. Props to tremendous Gamecock fan. And to counter him, we follow with a tremendous Clemson fan. Tiger Bryan in Lancaster. Welcome in, Tiger Bryan. How are you?
Why couldn't I wouldn't ask to follow nobody better, because I hope and pray that Gamecock Larry hangs. I hope he hangs in there and sees his girls win. And I know we're on different sides of the fence, but he's a true fan like me.
You got something to crow about from last night, or not necessarily crow about? You got something to roar about.
Oh, you can't let me tell it now. Hey, okay. I'm talking 10-run rule. My Tiger girl said them games home packing. I mean, beat them like pet coons. Let's be winning at something.
They're good. They're softball, and softball. Good. I mean, you're a softball aficionado. You're a softball fan. They're just they're good across. What makes them so good?
I'm a Clemson fan. I'm not an SEC fan like some of these Gamecock fans are. Yeah, I'm a Clemson fan. Yeah. Hey,
but what makes their softball team so good besides Valerie Cagle?
Well, they hit the ball. They played defense. You watched them. I mean, they got bad. And what, fourth year we've been having a softball team. It's not like we've been there forever now. Come on now.
No. I agree with you. They put this thing together in a heartbeat.
Yep. Man, we had a good time. If you want to go to some good Merle's Inlet, go get you some fresh seafood. Last week we went down there for the weekend. Boy, it was awesome.
Where'd you go?
Next trip will be at the spring game at Clemson. You going to be up there?
I believe that Smitty's covering the Clemson spring game this year. I think I've got the Gamecocks.
Oh, okay. He turned
the same day. They're the same day, and Smitty plans these things out, and he's going to be up there, and he wants to handle Clemson, so I'll handle the Gamecocks. You didn't tell me where you went in Merle's Inlet to have your seafood.
I went to Drunken Jack's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you live up to the name of the establishment?
No, I did not. No, I did not. I was about 2 beers in. I'm not used to paying $3.50 for a full beer. You know what I mean? My wife, mate. Miss Tiger Bryan had me on a short change, Corn.
I understand. I understand.
I had to be a guy. I had to be on my best attitude that day.
I understand. But we expect that all the time from you.
Yeah. Well, she does a good job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, TV.
I enjoyed y'all's show. Hey, and I think both Clemson and Carolina is going a lot of what ifs on the new coordinators, but I think both of them is going to be all right. I think both of them got enough good players, and I think out there, I think both of them will do fine. And I want to tell Gamecock Larry, hope he has good health, and but I still love him just because he's a Gamecock fan. I ain't gonna hold that against him.
There you go. Thank you, TB.
Y'all have a great night. I enjoyed the show.
Thank you. You too, sir. Appreciate it very much. Listening to us on our station out of Rock Hill, WRHM. I listened to them this morning as I was driving into Charlotte to catch the plane. What a great radio station that Chris Miller and Alan Miller, his dad, they have put together there for, 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. Fantastic signal, great programming. They are tremendous in sports as well. Always listen to them when we head up to that part of the state. And they have great coverage for their station. They give us great coverage, and we appreciate them very much. And we appreciate Tiger Bryan calling in and sharing his thoughts. A couple of things to mention here.
Mm-hmm. I've got the other answer to your question. Outside of Valerie Cagle, I don't think John Rittman can get enough credit for what he's done. That guy is a terrific softball coach. He's not Dabo Sweeney up there at Clemson, but in terms of really, really good coaches, he's in the mix with them because of the job he did at Stanford long before he came to Clemson. I mean, the guy just wins everywhere he goes. He is a terrific softball coach, and what he's been able to accomplish in, 4 years with the Clemson program is nothing short of remarkable.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's just made them into a national power at this point. So I wanted to mention this. The NIL congressional hearing started this morning. I was looking at stuff from Ross Dellinger, who writes for Sports Illustrated, and he was tweeting throughout, so I was trying to catch some of his tweets, but some of the, they want the guardrails is the catchphrase that congressmen are throwing at the NIL people. And the AD from, I think it was Washington, maybe Washington State, he was talking about what a disaster it would be for college athletics if they had to have the athletes become employees. And then you had representatives of the players' so-called union talking about why it would be a good thing to unionize and to be on salary and to be employees of the respective universities. And, it was an all-day affair, I imagine, as far as the hearing is concerned, and a lot of things went back and forth. But the thing is, and we need to remind everybody about this too, and it's funny how it gets to this, Chris, and this is how it seems to always be in college athletics, where the unintended consequences end up ruling the day. For example, when they created the rule about the free transfer for a grad student, that was a very nice rule that the NCAA put in place. It was to help students who are graduates, going to be graduate students, but their current school did not offer their course of study, grad course of study. Well, you could transfer somewhere else who offered that and play right away. Seemed like a very nice thing to do from an academic standpoint. And what happens? Of course, it got abused. Then everybody started using that rule, and people started recruiting with that in mind. Oh, you want to play a graduate year? We'll come here. And it became, that kind of opened the door to the transfer portal. That was sort of the first step in that direction with the free transfer and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm getting at here is back when the Supreme Court ruled on the Alston case. If you go back, of course, and look at the terminology and what they actually ruled on, it was an academic ruling. It wasn't a money ruling. They ruled that schools can't limit academically what athletes can get because they are athletes. So for example, a school couldn't limit an athlete if he needed a better computer. The NCAA, of course, was sort of hamstringing everybody when it came to how much they could spend on computers and things related to academics, because they didn't want the athletes to have more than the normal student. And the Supreme Court said, well, you can't do that. They can get whatever they need, but you can't stop them because they're athletes from getting that from the school. The school can spend whatever it wants to. And somehow we went from that to the free money flow, to the NIL deal, where all of a sudden it went from an academic ruling to now you've got athletes making money off their social media and doing various advertising bits and everything else that they can to make money. So the point is, the unintended consequence, I think, of what the NCAA ruled has put us into this position where now the NIL is viewed as a way of making a living as a college athlete, and not just a way of supporting your academic needs. And that's where we are. So, as I said the other night, too, when we talked about this on Monday night, I mean, me personally now, of course, I was adamantly opposed to it when it first started, 2-3 years ago. I was one of those in the category of it's going to ruin the games, it's going to kill the interest, et cetera, et cetera. And I know we only have a short amount of time here to look it over, but I don't think it's done that at all. I don't think it's hurt the competition. I don't think it's put a dent into the interest of the fans in any way. Maybe the gambling aspect has offset that. Maybe more fans are being drawn into college sports because now there's free gambling on everything. It's a wild west out there in every way. So what Congress is going to do now, I mean, I think most Americans believe Congress has more important things to deal with than trying to help the colleges get a handle on all this. But the colleges aren't capable. They're not capable because they don't trust each other. It's the most, whether it's Washington or Northwestern or Syracuse or any AD in the SEC, they don't trust the guy in the room with them because they're always trying to one-up each other, whether it's in the next building the next building, or coming up with the next catch program, the next thing to help recruit another player into your program. There's no trust factor there, and I don't know how they can ever come to terms with a solid way of handling this unless an outside force like Congress steps in and says, okay, this is what you're going to have to do.
This shows you how big a mess this has gotten, Phil, when we try and go to the federal government of the United States and hope they can fix the problem, because Congress can't fix anything. Every time they meddle with you give me any subject that Congress has been involved in, it's going to be messed up. That's what happens up in Washington. This is the last thing they need to get their hands into. And here's the problem with the NCAA not having any spine, any backbone, or any power anymore. That's the group that should be handling this. The NCAA is supposed to be the governing body of all collegiate athletics, from Division I all the way down to Division III. They are the ones that should be able to handle this, but they can't. So now they're going to run to Congress and hope they can figure it out. And what a mess they've put us in the United States. We could spend the next 5 hours talking politics about how bad the federal government is, and we want them to get in and try and fix NIL. It's insane. This is the problem. Yep. This is an NCAA problem. This is not the United States Congress. This is a problem. The NCAA needs to fix it, and they need to step up and do something about it, or the schools are going to have to figure out a way to govern it themselves. And I agree with you. I think that might even be worse because no one trusts anybody else. Well, if South Carolina says they're going to pay $100,000 to Spencer Rattler every year, are they really only paying him $100,000? Because I heard on the social media that he was getting $200,000. Well, if they're cheating over at USC, then we're going to cheat here at Clemson because we got to be able to keep up with them in the state. I mean, that's the problem we're going to run into until some governing body, NCAA, steps in and takes care of this problem.
Well, here is what Dellinger writes. He says the takeaway is, in his opinion, the lack of understanding from lawmakers on the issue. Based on the questions They need NIL 101. This does not bode well for quick legislation, and the Senate seems farther ahead on the topic. This was a House committee. And so the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, a former governor, he put out a statement. Today, the House Energy and Commerce Committee held a hearing to discuss NIL rights for more than 500,000 athletes competing in the NCAA. NIL is a powerful vehicle that rightfully allows student athletes the ability to earn compensation based on their unique market value. At the same time, the lack of transparency in today's NIL marketplace puts the athletes in jeopardy of exploitation by bad actors. Well, that's nothing new. They've always been exposed to bad actors.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Plus, different state laws regulating NIL, currently more than 30, put the athletes across the country on an uneven playing field. Well, they've always been on an uneven playing field. I am thankful the committee has convened this hearing, and optimistic Congress, typical politician, will take action to create fair, equitable, and sustainable NIL guidelines that protect and benefit student athletes nationwide. Great. Well, I say they need to bring in, what's her name? The former Secretary of State, who's always brought in on sports issues.
Condoleezza Rice.
Condoleezza Rice, yes. They need to let Condoleezza Rice fix this. She's
at
the
least
one they
she'd
turn to on
understand
sports issues.
And she'd at least understand. And it's not a surprise that you get some of these congressional, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Independent, you get a senator or a House representative member. They don't understand half the stuff they're passing on a national scale from a federal government side of the coin. We want them to understand what's going on with name, image, and likeness in sports. They can't even figure out how to pass a budget.
Well, Chris, to take it a step further, this is the same Congress that just a few days ago was questioning the president or founder, whatever, CEO of TikTok, and these decrepit old folks were asking him, thinking that they were spying by connecting on your home Wi-Fi, being like, I have to know, does TikTok connect to your home Wi-Fi? Oh, God, they're spying on us. Like, bro, how else do you think they're connecting to the internet? Of course it's connecting to your Wi-Fi. Everything connects to Wi-Fi. That's how the internet works. But these are folks that don't even understand technology now in the 2020s or in the 21st century overall. How are we expecting them to understand things within the NCAA? So to y'all's points, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's I don't know what the answers are. I mean, again, the fact that the elite players are making the big money is no different than when they were getting it illegally. So nothing's really changed there, except now it's an honest living. You know, you don't have to worry about looking over your shoulder. I do wonder down the road as this thing becomes more and more embedded into the college sports scene, and you have a select few because they are the quarterback or they are the sharpshooter on the women's team, or they are the All-American center, whatever the case may be. You have a select few who are cashing in big time, but you got people around them who they have to help support from a team standpoint because you're only as good as the team, and you're getting the supporting cast around you, and they're getting crumbs. And I know there's been gestures made by some of the guys who are making the big money to take their guys out for dinner or do this. Well, that's all well and good. But eventually, you know, the common sense thinking is I want my share of the pie. I'm working just as hard. This is an unfair system where only an elite few really benefit. Unless, of course, you have a situation where across the board, schools are going to say, okay, every one of our football players is going to make $100,000 a year. I'm just throwing a figure out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every one of our basketball players is going to make $75,000 a year across the board, so that it's an even Steven. But then again, you know, does that with no guardrails and no controls? It's just simply a marketplace thing now, and whoever is the most popular is going to be the individual who makes the most money from their social media accounts, as well as the people in the collectives and giving money who want to be involved with that particular player. And that's going to be the nature of the beast of this thing.
And I want to go back to Pat's point about how unfamiliar congressmen and women are with regards to what happens in the real world of sports. There's a representative out of Florida today that says, in short, we must strike a delicate balance between the rights of college athletes to profit, keep that in mind, profit from their own NIL while keeping the amateur status for all college athletes. All right, how can you, with a straight face, say that in the same sentence?
Yeah,
they can profit from their NIL, but then also they're supposed to be amateurs. I mean, this is, and we're going to Congress to try and fix this problem. These are the people who might try and fix the problem. It's not going to happen.
But we are 100 miles away from what the Supreme Court ruled in November of 2021. The Supreme Court upheld a district court ruling that the NCAA rules limiting education-related compensation violated Section 1 of the Sherman Act. Okay, I don't claim to know what the Sherman Act says, but somehow we got from that to name, image, and likeness. And I don't know, where was that bridge crossed? Where was that bridge built? And how was that bridge crossed to go from that to NIL to basically pay for play for the most elite players in a program?
Phil, I don't think there's any solution to fix this now that the genie is out of the bottle other than allowing college athletes to unionize and become employees of the university. I think we're so far down the road now, there's no way to reel it back in, because if Congress tries to pass legislation to limit the amount of money anybody can make, that's going straight to the Supreme Court as an infringement on their rights to be able to go out and make a living in the United States. That won't happen. So the only thing that can happen is I think we're going to ultimately see all the universities are going to pull these players underneath their own umbrella, and they're going to be collectively bargained everything they do via union. I think that's our next step and maybe our only solution to this.
Well, you tax these guys and their tax dollars goes to the revenuers. Maybe it will cut into the national debt a little bit.
Yeah, that may help.
It will add to the United Uncle Sam's bank account and, cut into that thing a little bit with all these athletes now, being taxed. I can't wait for them to get their tax bill when all this gets figured out. Speaking of one of those making the big bucks and driving the Mercedes, Spencer Rattler is one of those. He met with the media today. We'll bring you that after the break. Much more coming up. Hour number 2.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The
Point. News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. An AP poll finds Americans favor cuts in government spending, but not to big-ticket programs that make up the bulk of the budget. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
As President Biden and House Republicans continue their budget standoff, 60% of U.S. adults say the government spends too much money. That's up sharply from only 25% in May of 2020 after the pandemic forced major disruptions. But the mid-March poll by the Associated Press and the Nork Center for Public Affairs Research also found majorities favor more spending for programs they consider the most important, like infrastructure, healthcare, and Social Security. It shows how the public is asking lawmakers to pull off the impossible, cut the overall size of the government, but devote more money to popular and expensive programs. Jennifer King, Washington.
The shooter who killed 3 children and 3 adults at a Christian school in Nashville was under a doctor's care for an undisclosed emotional disorder. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Nashville police body cam captures the moment they killed Audrey Hale. Chief John Drake says Hale had 2 assault-style weapons and a pistol with more guns found at home.
Audrey bought 7 firearms from 5 different local gun stores here legally.
3 9-year-olds and 3 adults were killed by Hale at the Covenant School, which the 28-year-old once attended. Audio courtesy WSMV. Investigators found a manifesto and are looking into motive. I'm Julie Walker.
Forecasters are warning of more severe storms in the Midwest and South this Friday. They expect tornadoes and damaging winds in a barrage of 3 or 4 bursts of storms through mid-April. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 323 points. The Nasdaq rose 210. The S&P advanced 56. Oil down to $72.95 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
Dennis Prager here. Sue and I mean it when we say dogs are part of our family. We love Otto and Snoopy so much, and there's nothing like their loyal companionship. So we provide them with Rough Greens, RUFF, because we want them to feel healthy and be with us as long as possible. I know Charlie Kirk feels the same way.
The Pragers and I couldn't agree more. I rely on my trusted furry friend, Mr. Briggs, who's an absolute machine, and he relies on me to provide what's best for him. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black has packed Rough Greens, not a dog food, but a supplement full of vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes, and omega oils that Mr. Briggs absolutely needs and loves. Trying Rough Greens for your dog just makes sense.
Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here. I'm honored that the Pragers and Charlie trust their dog's health to Rough Green. I'm so confident that Rough Green can help your dog too that I'm offering you a free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover the shipping. Yes, dog food is dead food, but it doesn't have to be. Go to ruffgreens.com.
U.S. Senate and House members proposed a new no-fly list for unruly passengers. The legislation would let the Transportation Security Administration ban people convicted or fined for assaulting or interfering with airline crew members. Frontier Airlines flight attendant Cher Taylor remains traumatized after watching a passenger assault another passenger after a flight 2 years ago.
I'm still haunted by this incident. A few weeks ago, another incident made national headlines when a violent passenger attempted to open a main cabin door and stab a flight attendant 3 times. The violent incidents have not stopped.
The number of incidents involving unruly passengers dropped sharply last year after a judge struck down a federal requirement to wear masks on planes, but incidents remain serious enough to be investigated by federal officials. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. With a low dipping down to 43. Tomorrow, can't ask for a nicer spring day with abundant sunshine all day and a high temp of 71. Friday, we're back up to 81 with a mix of sun and clouds, while on Saturday, it's a rain-filled day. Sunday is the nicer of the weekend days. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Please press button now. I said to, genius.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. It's the Wednesday night edition. We're here in Dallas, Texas for the women's Final Four. Everything around that as far as on the court stuff will commence tomorrow. Looking forward to being over for practice, and we'll bring you coverage of the press conferences of the Gamecocks and the Hawkeyes tomorrow. Should be interesting. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about the Player of the Year stuff and all that. But the most important thing is Gamecock Larry said it's winning that game on Friday night and then following up on Sunday afternoon, winning the championship. We'll see if South Carolina can get it done. Today, Gamecock football players, some offensive players, met with the media. Chris was not there in person, but he was monitoring, and you've got some stuff with Spencer Rattler for us.
Absolutely. Spencer got to the media, what would it be, media gaggle for the first time this spring. Gamecocks about halfway through spring football with their first major scrimmage coming up on a Saturday, and Rattler talks a good bit about the offense and actually got into his NFL decision, what led him to come back to USC along with Juice Wells. But he kicks off his meeting with the media today over in Columbia, chatting about how much different it is this year for him, coming in now as a second-year player in the program as opposed to last year when he was a newbie at USC.
Yeah, being a year into it, I feel like we're very close as a team. That's what something Coach Beamer always says is we want to be the closest and most connected team in the country. And, all the transfers have been here a year. New guys are, coming in. We're bringing them along. But, we're all gelling more each and every day. So, practice has been great. A lot more comfortable with everything now. I love the new offense with what Coach Dow's doing and just been enjoying it.
Spencer, I asked Juice this question last week when I asked you this. Going through this process this year in comparison to last year, I'm sure you would say you're the same person, but from a mindset standpoint, maybe when you came here, you thought, okay, I'm going to go to the NFL 1 year afterwards. How is the mentality just a little bit different this year? Do you feel like you're a little bit more loose? You don't have to feel as much pressure? Like, what's just maybe different compared to where you were a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of mentality, same mentality of the work, putting in the same amount of work, definitely more comfortable, more loose. I think towards the end of the season, we, as a team, we all played more loose, and that's when we play better. And we're just trying to do that in our spring ball, fall camp, going into the season.
Spencer, you and Coach Beamer have kind of talked about when you first got here last year, it was kind of like you maybe quieter, go through the work, get to know guys, that kind of thing. I mean, when you go through camp now, obviously you're able to be a little more vocal. Coach Beamer, I think, said kind of this is your team right now. I guess how different is that? What's that kind of been like? And, maybe what's spring been like maybe in comparison to last year?
Yeah, it's just like you said, being a newer guy last year, I just wanted to show my leadership through my work ethic. Wasn't as vocal. Was a little bit vocal, but definitely more vocal this year. Just trying to help the guys with a new offense. Us as quarterbacks, we have a little jump start on it. We started early on it. So we have a good understanding of it, but the guys are picking up really well. Everybody's responding well in practice, and we've been competing and having a great day really every day. Has been great.
Coach Loggins, when he's done interviews, he's used the phrase a few times, space and pace. Is that something that's come up much at all, or has he said it around y'all?
I think I've heard that from him.
Okay.
A couple times, but I like his mindset. What he wants us to do, we're doing, and I love it personally.
Yeah, and now that you have 7 practices, I guess it is, with him on the field, what's it been like seeing that side of him and getting to work on the field and do all that?
It's been amazing. He's the same guy in the meeting room as he is on the practice field, which is good to see. He's true to who he is. He coaches well. He coaches you up. Doesn't lose his mind. He's just very particular and very detailed with what he wants, and he's making all of us better.
What were some goals you had in the spring that you wanted to improve on in your game?
Overall, just working the pocket, finding, different windows to throw in. Really just trying to improve everything, honestly, by processing. And a little bit of the run game too. But everything really.
Spencer, when you go through that process of deciding to come back, go pro, all of that, I mean, what was like the point where you sat down and said, all right, I'm coming back? Like, was there a moment for you that you thought this just feels right? This feels like the right thing to do?
I feel like we left some things on the table throughout the season that, myself, Juice, wanted to reach and achieve. We could have both, took that next step to the next level and been okay. But I think coming back was the right reason or right decision. Coach Dow's in here now. Obviously, he's had a lot of experience in the league, so being with him for a whole year will be great. And just really, I love this team. I love this program, and want to keep achieving more and more with these guys.
Coach Loggins was talking a little bit about him watching some Oklahoma stuff that you ran over there and maybe tailoring some things. How much input do you have in what this offense might look like and what you're comfortable with passing game concept-wise, protection-wise?
Yeah, I mean, he's been very open with me about what we want to do, and I'm on the same page with him. Whenever I say something, he'll listen. Whenever he says something, I'll listen. So we work together. It's a partnership. I look at it like between us and all the other QBs, but really between me and D-Lo. That's what we call him, D-Lo, just so y'all know. But he's very open to input, and we've added a lot of great things that all of us are comfortable with.
Before spring ball started, Coach Beamer talked about just wanting to cut down on turnovers across the board on offense. Mm-hmm. Is that something y'all get beat over the head with like every day, or is it just
we haven't really been turning the ball over in practice? We've had days where we had 1 or 2, maybe a little more, but we've definitely cut that down. That's definitely something that's huge. We're definitely cutting the turnovers down this year. That's going to be a big key to winning games. That's a main focus.
Spencer, I think you've kind of mentioned how much this was maybe not necessarily a joint decision with Juice, but how that was something that maybe might have affected what you're thinking. It might have affected his thinking, et cetera. I guess in practice, what did that actually look like? I mean, how much were you guys maybe communicating about whether
this was something you guys wanted to do together? And I guess how much did that, I don't know, hinge on what you guys wanted to do, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely great if you could have a guy like him come back and you come back and vice versa. I don't think our decision was based on each other. Maybe him more than me because I'm a quarterback and he wants to know he has a quarterback. But I think we definitely talked about it and, we came to the right decision, and it wasn't a joint decision, but we both were on the same page, definitely. And that's a guy I love to play with, love to compete with, and he's a dog.
Spencer, you're having to replace a guy like Eric Douglas, who you were really close with last year. What have you seen from Vershawn and Nick as the two guys that are kind of competing for that starting center spot in your relationship with both?
They both have been looking great. I mean, Vershawn, he's a super smart player. Nick, you obviously know he's probably super smart coming from Yale. Big physical guys, lead that offensive line group, and they've been doing an outstanding job.
All right, there you go. Spencer Rattler. D-Lo? They're calling Loggins D-Lo?
Evidently so.
Doesn't strike me as being the D-Lo type. I could be totally wrong. Just doesn't strike me as being the guy that had the nickname D-Lo. But you know what? That's an indication of the relationship being built between quarterback and quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. I mean, I think Shane Beamer has really done some good hires. Well, we'll see. Proof is in the pudding, of course.
Sure.
But I think that Loggins, by all accounts, looks good to me. And then bringing in Sean Ryan from the Panthers, I think that's just another bonus for them. I think from an offensive standpoint, he's really beefed things up on the coaching side there to really try to take this offense to the next level, which is where they've got to get. What's the next level for them offensively? And, of course, everything is, points. What's the next level they can get to? Can they average 35 points per game this coming season? Will they have a good enough running game? The two things that he's focused on this spring, in improving the running game and stopping the run. It's funny how he has to focus on those two things on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but that's what they're focused on. Can they be better in those two categories?
Well, they were so bad against the run last year, gave up nearly 200 yards a game. That can't continue. And I remember Beamer, I think it was last week in his press conference, or maybe in this past Tuesday, when he referenced all the conference champions and how well they ranked, going through like Clemson and Michigan and Georgia, and I think he referenced Utah as well, and said all those teams were inside the top 20 against the run and run defense. So if you want to win, there's your sort of blueprint. You've got to find a way to stop the ground attack for the other team. And South Carolina didn't do it nearly well enough throughout the season. We certainly saw it get exploited in the bowl game when Notre Dame just lined up and said, all right, enough is enough. We're just going to run it down your throat and stop us if you can. And unfortunately for USC, they couldn't. I did find one little phrase that Spencer Rattler utilized in his press conference when speaking about he and Dowell Loggins and their relationship. He used the term partnership. That, sounds like it's a 50-50 type deal, or at least Spencer believes it is. As I mentioned earlier, I think, and you heard what he had to say, I think he believes if there is a play or two that he doesn't like in the playbook, he can go to Dowell Loggins and say, let's take these out, and Loggins will. And, especially considering they've only been working together for, 3 months, 4 months since he was hired, that's pretty quick to get on the same page as it appears those two are.
Smart move on Loggins' part, though. I think it's a smart move when you're talking about a high-profile guy like Spencer Rattler. You're not coming in here and, remaking the wheel. This is a guy that has been through a lot from a very early age. He's been in the limelight as a quarterback. And, look, think of all the different offensive principles he's gone through in his college career between his time at Oklahoma and now at South Carolina. He was with Lincoln Riley and the offensive staff out there, but basically that was Lincoln Riley's offense, right? So he was there for 3 seasons. Then he comes to South Carolina. It's Marcus Satterfield's offense for a year, and now it's going to be Loggins' offense for a year. Mm-hmm. And so at least a year. And so, he's seen pretty much everything I think you can see as a quarterback in college. And I think in Loggins' case, it's probably a wise thing to have that open channel of communication and to maybe back off something. Some coaches don't like to back off and admit that the player might know something. It's my way or no other way. And I think it's good in this case with an older guy who's been around the block a few times to say, yeah, okay, I like that idea. Let's do it that way. And I think that's how you build a relationship with them.
I would agree. If they feel like you are going to listen to them and you respect their opinion, they're going to give you that kind of respect directly back. All right, coach will listen to me if I criticize a play call or don't like something we're calling. I have full respect for that, but it's got to be a two-way street as well. And at some point in time, Dal Loggins is going to have to be able to look at Spencer Rattler and say, look, this play will work. Run it. And, that might be where, if there is any friction between the two, that might be where it is. But it sounds like that's a relationship and a match made in heaven, at least to this point. Again, we're, 7 practices into spring. So long way to go before September.
Okay, phone number 888-898-2525. We'll go to the break here on Sports Talk. When we come back, we will hit the recruiting report for tonight. And I know you're going to be hitting the beach sometime this late spring and summer. Make sure you give our man Jimmy Smith a call at James Smith Realty. That phone number is 843-237-4246. Let Jimmy and the bunch there set you up for the perfect beach getaway. Paulie'sVacationRentals.com is where to go online. Phone number 843-237-4246. James Smith Real Estate. Hit the break and we'll be back.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to FutureScholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. FutureScholar.com.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Okay, time to give you the recruiting report tonight here on Sports Talk. Got a lot to unload, brought to you by our good friends at Seawells. Don't forget, now Seawells right now closed. I think tomorrow, right? They're open tomorrow for the daily luncheon buffet, and it's like the final 4 of daily luncheon buffets tomorrow. Is it not, Pat, with the menu they've got planned?
It is, Phil. Tomorrow they will be bringing you carved roasted sirloin of beef along with southern fried chicken and fried pork chops along with all the fixins you can handle, salad bar, and dessert.
So you know what, Chris? We've got a bracket here that we can have a competition. So we're going to put the roast beef up against the pork chops in one bracket and the chicken up against the rest of the fixins in the other bracket. Who do you think advances to the championship?
Oh my gosh. If just voting on the fact that we talk about their roast beef so much, I can't imagine. This would be like the one seed when UCLA was in the tournament, or Nevada, Las Vegas back in 1990 when they were the most dominant team in the country. I think you're probably running into this same scenario here. It's the most dominant food in the Midlands, or at least a piece of meat in the Midlands.
It's the national champion.
It's the number one seed. There's no doubt.
Of buffets. All right, so tomorrow, get there and chow down. And don't forget, of course, for the very best in the catering business, the folks at Seawells. They will take great care of you. Their phone number is 803-771-7385. Online, SeawellsCateringSC.com. Speaking of, let me mention this. Oy vey, in our bracket competition, the Sports Talk March Madness, right now, the intern, somebody identified as the intern, is our leader, okay? And however, he does not have his national championship game right. Now, he had Texas in winning the national championship, so he's going to miss there. So he has got, I guess, about 810. In second place is ESPN fan number so-and-so with 680 points. So he's got a pretty substantial lead there. But that person has got UConn winning the championship, so that keeps them alive for the national championship. So does the third place individual, Evan, who's got 620 points. So just to remind you, we'll have our champion here with our contest Monday night. You're going to win 2 tickets to a Braves game of your choice, not the opener, and not a playoff game, but anything in between. You'll win 2 tickets to a Braves game of your choice, dinner for 2 at Dave and Buster's as well. And you know what? If you're a NASCAR fan, I think we might throw in 2 tickets to Darlington for this coming May's race, the throwback weekend. How about that for a package?
It's pretty nice. And, at first when we said that you couldn't get tickets to the opener, I thought, well, good grief, that's one that everybody'd like to go. I forgot, though, that opening day is tomorrow. Yeah. I can't remember if the Braves are hosting Washington or they play at Washington, but so you would have had to miss the opener anyway because the tournament's not over.
That's right. That's exactly right. Excellent point. Okay, let me just check something here, and then we'll get to our recruiting report tonight. Just want to make sure I've got everything covered up here. But up. Yeah, good. So, as we mentioned, top of the show, USC gets the commitments from Talon Cooper from Minnesota, 6'4" guard at Dorman High School. Won a couple of state championships under Thomas Ryan, played at Morehead State 3 seasons, then transferred to Minnesota. Took his official to USC last weekend. Gave him a chance to meet up with Lamont Paris for the first time, and he said Paris told him that he wants him to be the leader and the facilitator and get players involved, and he thinks it's a blessing. It kind of reminds him of high school. He was at Dorman, then he went to North Carolina for the 11th grade and came back to Dorman, and it was just special coming back home. So having a chance to come back home, very special for him. And here's the other thing. He played his last high school game at the Colonial Life Arena. Now he'll have a chance to play his last home college game at the Colonial Life Arena. So the career kind of goes full circle there, I guess you could say. He averaged about 10 points and 6 assists per game. You got to like that, Chris. He can score, but he likes to distribute the basketball.
Brings up an interesting conundrum for Lamont Paris, or maybe a good problem for him to have at that point guard position, because keep in mind, Ibrahim Adiba, who transferred from Coastal to USC, is a point guard himself, and he missed all of this past season with an injury. So does he come back healthy enough that he can contend, or is that job already taken now as Lamont Paris goes into the transfer portal and brings in Talon Cooper?
Now, this team just needs players. Needs players.
No
and I think they're in good shape with the 2 players from Finland that were in over the weekend. Let's see if I can remember the names. Federico and Ugasuk. I hope I'm saying that right. I think they're in good shape with those 2. The transfer from Citadel, Clark, they apparently are in pretty good shape with him at this point. So I think Clemson might be trying to make a run at him as well. And then there's a transfer from Dayton, Mustafa Amzil, who they made a good impression on as well. So as far as the transfer portal, they're making some inroads. And, of course, they've got 2 players already signed as high school players coming in for next year. All right, on to other things tonight in the recruiting reports. Football. Some players to tell you about. South Carolina's been very active with players on and off campus for practice. 2026 receiver Aaron Gregory of Augusta was in on Tuesday. And for their practice tomorrow, all these players have stated on social media they plan to be at South Carolina. 2025 defensive back Jordan Krim of Camden. 2026 receiver M.J. Can of Bamberg Earhart. Got to be the brother of the former Gamecock, A.J. Can. He's an M.J. Brother was an A.J. Could be a cousin, but I'm thinking it's brother. Cardinal Newman running back Cortez Lane. Didn't he used to be at Camden? For some reason, I think he used to be at Camden. 2025 athlete Chanston Crosby of Bamberg Earhart, who I believe now is the cousin of the former Gamecock tight end Crosby, I think. Athlete Jaden Gimble of White Knoll. 2027 receiver Jaden Deli Murray of Goose Creek. 2024 receiver Darius Balaam of Fort Dorchester. 2025 tight end Ethan Barber from Alpharetta. They all plan to visit South Carolina on Thursday. Sumter defensive end Anthony Addison plans to be at South Carolina for the spring game. He was in for a practice earlier in the month. USC offered 2025 defensive end C.J. May of Highland Home, Alabama, and Clemson offered cornerback Corian Gibson of Lancaster, Texas. He was in for a visit earlier in the week and picked up an offer from the Tigers. There you go with the recruiting report for tonight. Remember to check it out regularly on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. On Twitter, use the hashtag ST Recruiting to get right to our recruiting notes. Okay, so coming up here at the bottom of the hour, and after the bottom of the hour break, comments from a couple of baseball coaches. I was over at Segra Park last night to watch Clemson and the College of Charleston. It was a pretty dominant performance by Clemson. And Caden Grice hit another home run for them. You know, he's hit homers in 5 of his last 6 games. So he is starting to deliver both at the plate, and, of course, he's in the pitching rotation as well. So he's starting to get back to that form of that two-way dominant player for Clemson. And, boy, they need him. But they have got a tough road to hoe coming up beginning tomorrow with a very good Wake Forest team that I believe, I have to go back and check the stats, I think they hit a lot of home runs. I think they're right up there with South Carolina and Florida among the nation's leaders. We'll hear our post-game interviews with the 2 coaches coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and a bit chilly with the low dipping down to 43. Tomorrow, can't ask for a nicer spring day with abundant sunshine all day and a high temp of 71. Friday, we're back up to 81 with a mix of sun and clouds, while on Saturday, it's a rain-filled day. Sunday is the nicer of the weekend days. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Pardon me, ma'am. Are you interested in lowering your energy usage and saving money?
Make it quick.
Did you know that Dominion Energy offers heating and cooling rebates up to $750?
That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. And it comes in handy if your system fails and you need a replacement.
Any restrictions?
For starters, your new equipment must be Energy Star qualified.
That's a good thing.
Go to DominionEnergySC.com and click Save Energy.
DominionEnergySC.com it is. Thanks for the tip.
Certain restrictions apply.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the Senate has voted to repeal the decades-old congressional measure that greenlighted the 2003 invasion of Iraq. If approved by the House, the measure would end more than 20 years of authorization for U.S. presidents to use force in that country and return those war powers to Congress. The Iraq War ended years ago, and repeal is not expected to affect any current troop deployments. The bipartisan legislation would also repeal the 1991 measure that sanctioned the U.S.-led Gulf War. Lawmakers in both parties are increasingly seeking to claw back congressional powers over U.S. military airstrikes and deployments. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 323 points. The Nasdaq rose 210. The S&P advanced 56. Oil down a quarter to 72.95 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Shooter's Choice in West Columbia is bringing Manufacturers Weekends to you the entire month of April. Benelli and Franke will be in the house this weekend, bringing you some great discounts on their shotguns to kick off your April turkey hunt. Nothing like taking that trophy gobbler with a brand new shotgun you've dreamed of buying. So call ahead to get a weekend schedule and don't miss a perfect opportunity to test fire any of these products on sale each weekend. Shotguns, silencers, handguns. Come by and meet the manufacturer and test out their products. Shooter's Choice makes April a great month to shop for your upcoming hunting adventures. Hunt that gobbler with a new shotgun or build that perfect wild hog coyote rifle with a thermal night vision scope and a silencer to bring home a big boy. Or getting started on home defense and personal protection. Spring is here, so make it special for any of your hunting, firearms, or accessories. 944 Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Hey, honey, I'm back from taking Dad to the doctor.
How's he doing?
Much better now. The diabetic ulcer on his leg is finally healing.
That's great. He had that ulcer for weeks before you finally spoke to the pharmacist at True Pharmacy.
Yes, and after a quick conversation between the pharmacist and his doctor, they came up with a great wound care plan with a new product that's really working. I'm glad they take the time to care.
True Pharmacy, 2 locations, West Columbia on Charleston Highway or 3217 Devine Street, or visit us at truerxsc.com.
Hi, this is Kevin Cohen. I'm the owner, the general manager here at The Point. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is to partner with great people. To that end, I'm looking to partner in the upcoming months with like-minded business owners, people who want to grow their respective businesses. Would you consider meeting with me in the very near future to discuss how The Point can partner with you so that you can exceed your own expectations in the coming year? Let's sit down over a glass of tea, a cup of coffee. Let's talk about how your business and my business can work together to meet our collective goals. I'm not looking simply for advertisers. I can find them by simply cold calling people a few times a week. What I'm looking for are business partners who share the vision that I have for my own small business. That vision is very simple. Local businesses need to support local businesses, period. If you have an interest in telling people about your business via the radio, let's make it happen affordably and local. Call me directly, 563-8558, 563-8558. I'd appreciate the chance to meet with you. Maybe we can help each other.
Join us weekday mornings at 7:31 a.m. for Straight to the Point with Pastor Steve Williamson. That's Straight to the Point, weekday mornings, 7:31 a.m. here on The Point, 100.7 FM.
No, I was just looking over our standings in our competition. No competition for me. My worst tournament ever. Of all the brackets that have been entered, my rank is 17,527,499.
I don't think you're going to win.
17,527,499. 12.6% for me. Does that mean that's how many I've gotten right, 12.6? Or does that put me in the national percentile of 12.6? Not sure what that means.
It's the percentile.
It's the percentile. Okay. That's right, because it's got here by our leader. Oh, no. This would be is this the national guy?
Our leader, according to the app, is in the 100th percentile right now, which is insanely impressive. He got 3 out of the 4 Final Four teams correct, but to your point, missed out on the finals. I believe he had did he have Purdue or Texas? He had one of those 2 in the finals, I believe.
Well, it looks like the national leader here, he's 100 percentile. He's got 1,020 points, but he had Houston winning the national championship. And so that's obviously going to hurt him with that situation. Let's go to baseball. Last night, Clemson down the College of Charleston in Columbia, Segra Park. Back-to-back wins for the Tigers after losing the first two games of that series at Georgia Tech. They won the third game. They get a win last night. Now they're getting ready to take on a very good Wake Forest team. Not just very good, dynamic, number 2 in the country in some of the polls. Here is Coach Eric Bakich. I had a chance to talk with him after the game to get his thoughts about where things stand coming out of this one and looking ahead down the road this season.
Yeah, good team win. Thought we played well in all phases. Ethan Darden gave us a good start, good 5 innings. Guys who came out of the bullpen did a good job. Hoffman cleaning up the mess, and then Tristan and Willie and Chuck all put up zeros. And then I thought offensively just had a lot of quality at-bats, a lot of hard contact. That's a very good pitching staff. The pitching is, one of the keys to coming in here. We knew we were going to have to hit well against, they're 16. They were 16-7 coming into this game, largely because of their great pitching staff. So we knew we had our work cut out for them, and I thought our offense responded well with some hard contact, some 2-out RBIs, some good job moving runners, scoring runners, some big hits. Caden Grice again, and some other guys with some 2-out RBIs. So all in all, just good quality team win, and good to see a lot of guys contribute.
Kind of assess where you are, kind of near the midway point of the regular season. Where do you feel you are?
Well, we'd like to think we've got over 40 games left, but yeah, we're just striving to get better. I mean, we have shown that we have this razor-thin margin and can play a lot of the woulda, shoulda, coulda game, but no sense in doing that now. That's all rearview mirror stuff. And these last 2 games, we've looked like we've made a lot of positive strides, and that's just the goal, is just to keep getting better. And this is a team that I think we keep making improvements. We keep getting guys healthy and keep getting the contributions like we're getting. Some guys heating up like Caden and Blake, and contributions up and down the lineup. Getting some freshmen, some very valuable experience. It's going to be a dangerous team as the season progresses.
You mentioned Caden. He's the kind of guy that can put this team on its back.
Well, I think with the talent on this roster, there's a lot of guys capable of getting hot. Caden's just different because he's just got the long ball potential more than anyone else. He doesn't have to get all of it to hit it out. He can hit some home runs and just going line to line like he is, and hitting the ball hard to all fields, and just having a lot of quality at bats and a lot of hard contact. And now he's lifting the ball, and he's pitching well. So yeah, he's extremely valuable to this team.
When do you think you'll get Ammons back, and getting him back will mean what for your rotation?
I think we'll get Ammons back, not this weekend, but potentially next weekend. So we'll see, but it won't mean anything to the rotation, but it'll solidify a lot of the bullpen. We've had some great performances in the bullpen by Jackson Lindley, Nick Clayton, Reed Garris. Those guys have been workhorses in the bullpen, and Ryan Ammons is going to go back to the bullpen and be a huge weapon back there.
That was a big outing for Nick Hoffman tonight. He's had a couple of rough outings this year. Confidence builder for him.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, he's had some good moments this season where I was just talking about him, to the team. Feels like a few weeks ago he came in and gave us some length, went 4.2 innings against somebody, and really saved our bullpen just a couple of weeks ago. So he's had some bright spots, but to come in there and first and second, nobody out, and strand all the runners and not let them score. That was a 8-3 game at the time, and could have got a little bit dicey, but for him to just settle it down, allow our offense to continue to separate, yeah, that was a big deal. And you got a veteran guy, a senior, strike thrower, so, it's a good matchup, especially in a, big park like this where, he can get some fly balls, and we knew he could give us some good outs.
Comments of Eric Bakich. Now let's go across the field to Chad Holbrook. Of course, his team is among the best in the CAA, and he fully expects to win another CAA regular season, and then he hopes win the league championship so he can get to postseason play. But that was a disappointing performance last night in his mind, a disappointing loss to Clemson, coming off a tough road trip for them last weekend. But, I mean, he's not making any excuses. He expected his team to be more competitive and play better. So in talking with Chad Holbrook, he wasn't really pleased, hasn't been really pleased overall with his team's performance to date. Here is that conversation. Kind of heading towards the halfway point of the regular season. How do you feel about where you are?
I think we've been up and down. We've had some good moments and some good wins, and we've lacked consistency. I mean, if you look at our record, we're 16-8, and that's okay. But I feel like we left some wins out there, and we could have played better in some games. And with that being said, we won some games we probably shouldn't have won as well. So I just want to play better. I just want to play the way we're capable of playing and play in a consistent fashion. And that's what's been most frustrating to this point. We haven't been as consistent as I would like.
Offensively, defensively, in the pitching staff, what areas are you looking at?
I mean, offensively, we got a bunch of older guys that just, we won our league last year by 4 games, and we had a really solid offensive team, and a lot of those guys are back, and we've been very inconsistent. We've been very inconsistent in the batter's box. Our pitching is always going to give us a chance to win, especially on the weekend, because we got some really good pitchers and All-American closer, and we're going to stay in those games, but we got to help our pitchers out a little bit more. We're putting a lot of pressure on our pitchers to be perfect, and that's not fair to them. And we're certainly capable enough to score some double-digit runs from time to time or make it easier on our guys, and we haven't done that up to this point.
As you assess things, do you have to make some lineup changes, adjust some things in the lineup, or just ride with who you got?
Well, we are who we are. Who we have needs to play better. It's not the end of the world. We got half of the season left, a little bit more than half, and and we sit in a good spot in our conference. And, so I think that's if I can take anything as an optimist is, hey, we haven't played our best baseball and we're still in a good spot in our league. And hopefully how we've played is not who we are. And hopefully how we played last year and some of our big moments this year, hopefully we can become that more consistently than we've been up to this point. If we do that, we're going to have a dang good year. If we don't, we're going to continue to be inconsistent. And I hope I'm going to work my hardest to try to keep us out of that boat.
How about these 2 games you had with Clemson? Tough loss up there when it got away from you at the end. And then tonight's a midweek game, not necessarily throwing your best arms, and they got after you pretty good.
Yeah, they had a great night. They got a really good team. I mean, they're getting a lot better too. He's got his lineup the way he wants it. He's got some athleticism, and the top of their lineup's a special group. And when Grice is swinging the way he is, they're a different team than probably what they were in February. And credit to those guys. They got good players. And the one early in the year, that was a tough game. It could have gone either way. We had a couple tough calls go against us, but it was a very competitive game. I wish we could have been a little bit more competitive tonight. Had a long weekend. We played 36 innings in 3 days over the weekend. One of them was a 17-inning deal. So we weren't at full strength on the mound. We had to throw some guys, on shorter stints than we would have normally had liked, against a team like Clemson. But, hey, it's baseball. And we'll pick ourselves back off the mat tomorrow and get ready for a conference series and hopefully get the ball rolling the way we can get the playing the way we're capable of playing. That's my only concern.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you as far as playing at your best?
Honestly, I think we're about a 3 or 4. And I say that because I believe that we have a dang good team. We just been a little up and down. We'll play moments. It's like, that's who we are. That's who we haven't been able to sustain it. And hopefully that's coming soon.
Chad Holbrook, love the honesty. He's not happy. Thinks his team's playing at about a 3 on a scale of 10. So thinks there's room for a lot of improvement there, but they're good enough to win that league. They just can't mess up in the tournament like they did last year. They should have been an NCAA tournament team last year. But it's a 1-bid league, and if they don't win their tournament, they have a bad game, puts them in the losers bracket, and they couldn't work their way out of it last year. Pat tells me that the Rangers are home to open the season. They're home to Philadelphia. So that's an interesting twist and a turn of events because, things work out. If the Gamecocks win on Friday after the press conferences on Saturday, Corn's got a free day. Might have to go watch some Major League Baseball.
I think you'd enjoy that. What time is the practice press conference set up tomorrow? Do you know?
Let's see here. You would ask me that now, wouldn't you?
Because they play at, I think, 4 o'clock. I don't know if that's Eastern time or Central time tomorrow.
No, I won't make it tomorrow because, show prep, takes hours and hours and hours of show prep, as you know.
Go find an empty spot in the upper deck and just broadcast the show from the stadium. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, it's opening day. You think they'll have empty seats there?
I would hope not. I mean, I think Cincinnati still sells out opening day, don't they? And then their fans don't ever come back the rest of the year.
Well, that's because
that's a little more tradition. Yeah.
It's
a little more tradition than anything.
Phil, too bad you can't see the Mavericks as they're out of town, seeing as they play in the same arena as the Final Four. But you could go see your favorite former Celtic, Kyrie Irving.
Yay! Boy, he's made friends fast in Dallas, hasn't he? Oh, my. So, by the way, since you asked, so I have to convert this to Eastern time. I'm assuming all times are Central. Yes, they are. So, Division I high seed, national semifinal, game 1 presser, head coach and athlete. So 11 o'clock tomorrow morning will be Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks. And then the lowest seeded team will go at 11 o'clock, and then the next seed at 12, and then the other team at 1 o'clock. So why am I seeing Division 3? Are they playing Division II and Division III championships out here as well? And they've got press.
They did that a couple of years ago on one of the big anniversaries, I think, for college basketball, the NCAA, which I thought was really, really cool. I don't know that they're doing that, but maybe they are on the women's side.
I got to look more into this. I mean, on Saturday they've got the press conferences for the semifinal game 1 winner. And semifinal game 1 winner, but they got Division 3 and Division 2 listed as well. I got to do a little more digging on that and see if they're playing their games out this way as well. I wasn't aware that would be the case. Okay, when we go to the break and we'll come back, we have connected with Talon Cooper, who has committed to South Carolina, and he's going to join us to talk about that commitment to the Gamecocks, the Dorman graduate, returning to the state of South Carolina for one final basketball season, and it will be with the Gamecocks. We'll have him come on your way after the break right here on Sports Talk. Don't go away.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to FutureScholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. FutureScholar.com.
Okay, big day for South Carolina basketball. The Gamecocks pick up a very good transfer from Minnesota, but somebody who's very familiar to the state of South Carolina, Talon Cooper, 6'4", Dorman High grad, played 3 years at Moorhead and then a year at Minnesota, had a very good season with the Golden Gophers, and he's going from the Golden Gophers to the Fighting Gamecocks as he announced a commitment to USC today, and he joins us from up in chilly Minnesota. And Talon, great to have you with us, and congratulations on your commitment to South Carolina. And how do you feel about making this decision and getting a chance to come back to the home state?
Man, I want to say, first of all, thank y'all for having me. And it's just a great experience to come home and play in front of my family and friends for my last final year. I mean, I don't know if I can feel right now how excited I am to come back and play for the Gamecocks this year.
Give us the background on you in South Carolina and Lamont Paris and how all this kind of came together and ended up with you coming in for a visit over the weekend and then getting the opportunity to join them and making the decision to move forward with the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I mean, when I entered the portal last year, I was talking to South Carolina a lot, built that relationship from there. And then when I entered the portal again this year, I mean, it was the first school to call me, talk to me, and I just built a great relationship with them. And they sadly wanted me to be the first person to come on a visit. So when I came, there was just nothing but love, good weather. I was out of the cold, so it was great to be back home. And the facility, everything was nice. So I just felt like it was a right spot for me, and why not end my college career at home.
Yeah, I said it earlier, you played your last high school game at the Colonial Life Arena, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
You won a state championship, and you'll play. You hope it won't be your last college game. You'll play your last college home game there, but then you hope, of course, to tournament action and NCAA and all that kind of stuff. What was your impression of Lamont Paris when you first met him and talked to him and got to know him? What was the impression you took away?
The first thing I took away was just like everything he said, he just meant. I mean, he's a real, everything he means, he just says. And his track record from his previous schools, I mean, he was just a winner. He went to Final Fours 4 times or so. And I mean, his track record speaks for itself. And, and being the person that he is, we'll just bind together really well. So.
What do you think the difference would be? Well, first of all, give me your impression of Big Ten basketball. You were there for a year, so you went from Moorhead, then you moved up, so to speak, to the Big Ten. What was your impression of the Big Ten basketball? What was that like during the conference season, game in and game out? And then what do you think SEC basketball will be like?
Big Ten, man, it's really, really, really physical, extremely physical. And one thing I take away from the SEC is that you got a lot of athletes here, so a lot of big athletes, and that's just something I just got to adjust to. But it'll be all right.
Who was your toughest opponent in the Big Ten in your 1 year through there, you think?
Toughest? I couldn't say the toughest because I feel like every team has a different scheme to their game. So I mean, I think all the games are tough. If I'm being honest.
So when you looked at South Carolina, you talked to Coach Paris and the staff there, and they kind of told you, okay, this is what we need and this is what we think you can give us. What was that conversation like? What things do they need from you? What do you think you can give them?
Basically, the conversation went, they need a leader in the backcourt, guy that's experienced. It's going to make everybody around them better, make open shots, create for others. Pretty much how that went.
Are you a guy that obviously you average 6 assists per game, averaged about 10 points, 6 assists per game, one of the top figures in the Big Ten in terms of assists. Do you look to pass first and score second? How do you approach the offensive side of things?
To be honest, I mean, I just try to make winning plays as much as possible. That's the best I can give you. I just try to make winning plays. I don't try to put one in front of the other, but try to make winning plays.
Do you ever play off the ball, or are you a guy that you've got to have the ball in your hands and you've got to run the offense?
So high school I played off the ball quite a bit, but since I've been to college I haven't had another guard that can really handle the ball. So I mean I can play off the ball, so it'll be great to see how that works out.
Sure. So what's the plan for you moving forward? When do you finish up in Minnesota, and when do you join the folks at South Carolina?
Well, I finish up in May. I graduate May 13th, and then hopefully join them in June.
Well, we congratulate you. It's always a good story when you get a chance to come home and finish things up in front of the family and friends. And South Carolina needs ballers, and I think you're going to fit right in with what they need. So best of luck to you. Look forward to watching your season ahead with South Carolina, and all the best as you finish things up there in Minnesota.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. All right. Appreciate it. Talon Cooper out of Spartanburg Dorman High School up at Minnesota and headed to South Carolina. And I see no reason, guys, why this won't be a successful fit for the Gamecocks. He's a player. You average 10 points, 6 assists in a league like the Big Ten. You're a player, and they need players like him.
No doubt. He ran up against outstanding competition for much of the season in the Big Ten. And there's always been that argument about which is the best, basketball conference, and normally ends up landing on the ACC. That wasn't necessarily the case this year. And then I think the Big 12 has sort of supplanted the Big Ten maybe as the second or the best league here the past couple of seasons. But there's no question, especially watching what Michigan State always seems to do during the tournament and how far Purdue went before they got bounced out as a 1 seed. So, yeah, he's certainly well-schooled and well-heeled coming down to South Carolina. Now the question is, will they have enough players around him that he can dish out 6-7 assists a game?
And, Chris, with that, sorry, real quick. So I was just reading up his bio, and he was a captain last year out at Minnesota. So I'm curious now at South Carolina with the departure of Hayden Brown, I think we all could probably agree he seemed like the kind of leader of that team, the voice in the huddle, on the floor, in the locker room, et cetera. Do you think that this young man may step into that role that Hayden Brown kind of held this year as that team leader?
You're asking me or Chris?
Oh, I'm sorry. Either one of you. How about you, Phil?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think an older guy is always. But I really think the team leadership, he will deliver that, but I really think the team leadership next season will come from the guys returning for a second season under Lamont Paris. Jacoby Wright, for example. I was really impressed with the improvement in Jacoby Wright in his game. Especially, he kind of took off maybe like second half of SEC play. He just found another gear. He found a terrific three-point shot. I think leadership will come from him. But a guy who's been through it and traveled the way Cooper has, certainly once he gets the guys around him and they welcome him in and he kind of feels them out and realizes what his role is going to be both in the locker room and on the court, I could see where he could be a tremendous leader. He's obviously going to be an older guy and handles himself well. So that's a good question. Good question. So, Chris, you were telling me the D2 and D3 championships are here too?
Yes, sir. Both on a Sunday, if I read it correctly. So you've got company out there.
Wait a minute. The D1 is on Sunday.
Maybe it's Saturday. Maybe it's Saturday.
Yeah.
What is April 1st? Is that Saturday? Yeah.
That would be April
Saturday.
Fool's Day. That would be Saturday. Yeah, it must be Saturday. Okay. Hey, enjoyed it. We'll have more from Dallas tomorrow night. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you then.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.